If you want to plan for a beautiful 2025 garden season, this is what you need to do now. Here it is, the middle of October 2024, and guess what? I'm already thinking about 2025's garden season. I can't help it. Thinking ahead, that's what I'm doing. I'm not so much thinking about things that I want to buy. I'm thinking about things that I want to move in my garden to make my garden beds look better. I have some plants in some prime locations in my garden beds that are, the plants just have not performed well at all. And I don't want to give up on them yet, but I don't want them to be in those number one spots in my garden beds. So I'm thinking, I'm just walking through, looking at things and thinking, I'm going to move you, I'm going to move you, I'm going to move you. Although I'm not going to do the actual move-in today because I don't have my spot prepared for where I'm going to place them, I'm going to walk through and show you the things that I'm planning to move to make room for hopefully things that will perform better in those spots. And I'm going to give the old things, hopefully, new life in a better location for them. So let's go see what I'm planning to move. And you never know. Y'all might have things that y'all want to move too. You just hadn't thought about it yet. So if you want to plan for a beautiful 2025 garden season, this is what you need to do now. Before I get started with the moving of the plants and showing y'all what I'm going to move, I just have to have a reality check with myself. I live in Mississippi, Zone 8A, and it is hot and humid for, today is October the 16th, and it's 66 degrees outside, and this is the first cool day that we've had. And it'll probably be in the 80s later on in the day. And we have hot and humid summers. It's brutal. And the soil that I have here around my house and property is clay soil. And it is hard digging. And even though I'm working to improve my soil, it's not going to be anything worth writing home about for several years. But little improvements are good. But I have to be real with myself and know that no, I will not be able to plant things like people in Michigan can plant. I will not, my garden spaces are not going to look like Laura's from Garden Answer. Yeah, I have to be real with myself, and I just can't be disappointed when my gardens don't end up looking pristine like hers do. Because if I'm expecting that, I'm setting myself up for failure because I know it's not going to happen. So I've just got to be real. I have got to maybe look into Southern Living plant collection and see the plants that they have to offer for people who actually live and garden in the South in these rough and tough conditions, and do a little more research as far as the things that I do plan to buy and plant that will work with my clay soil, the heat and humidity that we have for most of the year, and the deer pressure. The deer at my house are terrible. They're the worst pests that I have, and so I'm going to have to find things that the deer don't like to eat. Or, like, I have all kinds of hydrangeas that are just not performing well for me at all. But I'm going to move them and put them in different locations where maybe they'll be happier with the sun and heat situation. But I'm going to have to protect them from the deer with some kind of fencing or something. So that's the first thing that I'm going to have to get right in my head is that, Patty, your garden is your garden, and it's not going to look like the professional YouTubers' gardens. You're not a professional. you're just somebody who wants your property to look better. And if I keep planting in the way that people who live in other places plant, my garden's not going to look any better. And that's going to make me sad. So I'm going to have to be real and know my limits on what I can and can't do in my garden. That's number one for a beautiful 2025 gardening season. The first grouping of plants that I have on the moving block for my 2025 gardening season, hydrangeas. These are the old-timey Macrophylla hydrangeas that are either blue or pink depending on the pH of your soil. And this is the best that this plant has looked all year long. If you can, I mean, look, it has some new growth coming on it. I think it's probably because the temperatures have cooled off a little bit and it's decided that it's not going to go into shock and die. So anyway, this one, we dug it up from the place where it was so I could put a raised bed right there. And I'm going to move this to a place where it will get a lot of shade. I know it's going to have sun to bloom, but it's been in sun and it didn't bloom. So I'm going to move it. This one, and I think there are 2 or 3 other pieces of this plant that I'm going to be able to move around in a shadier spot in my yard. And I know that I will have to put some kind of fencing or something around it. Otherwise, it's just a deer buffet. These are the other pieces of the Macrophylla hydrangeas that I'm moving. You see how the new growth is so pretty? And then, look at that. That's what our Mississippi heat and humidity does to Macrophylla hydrangeas and some panicle hydrangeas too. But anyway, these puppies are going to get moved. This is pathetic. This is a hydrangea, if you can believe it. This is a panicle hydrangea. It is called Little Lime Punch. And it has been in the wrong spot its whole life. I think it gets too much shade, and then the sun that it does get is that brutal afternoon sun that's terrible here in Mississippi, and it's hot and it's humid, and maybe it doesn't get enough air circulation around it. So this baby's gonna get moved too. I'm gonna put it in a spot where it can get morning sun and then afternoon shade. So maybe it will fare better in another location. I'm not giving up on it yet, but I'm giving up on it in this spot. This is another Little Lime Punch hydrangea. I'm not talking about the green stuff back there. That's salvia that I started from seed that cost me mere pennies that looks better than anything else in my garden. I'm talking about these sticks here. This is the Little Lime Punch hydrangea. In its 3 years of life, that's the only bloom it's ever had. It is alive. I did the scratch test. It does have green, so it's not dead. It just does not perform well in this spot. So I'm gonna move it. I thought that it would be really pretty in this bed, kind of like, you know, front and center, but not if it's gonna look like this. Yeah, so it's on the moving block too. And I have one more Little Lime Punch hydrangea that I'm gonna show you that I'm gonna move. Ta-da! You can tell it's a Little Lime Punch hydrangea because it looks just like its sisters. Anyway, I've just got to do better for them. I don't want to diss the plant. I think it's just not the right plant in the right place. Which is my fault, not the plants. This is another something that I'm going to move. If you can even see it, because it sticks and it just looks like the mulch in the background. But it is a Proudberry coral berry, and these berries are supposed to be a sweet pink color, but not here. In fact, I think that this plant is really not rated for my Mississippi climate. I'm going to move it to maybe a shadier location. Maybe give it some better soil. I don't know. But anyway, that's money wasted. That's me watching all these YouTube videos and thinking, oh, that plant's beautiful. I'm going to put it in my yard and it'll be beautiful. Patty, do your research. This is a good plant for spooky season. It looks kind of like Cousin It or something. This is a little Cryptomeria globosa nana. And this is another fail on my part. Wrong plant, wrong place. It got too much sun and it's dead. But I'm going to leave it in the ground for Halloween. And then sometime after Halloween, I'll dig it out and throw it down the ditch and try to find something that'll do better right here. So, poor planning on my part. This is another plant that this is the best it's ever looked in its little life. And guess what kind of plant it is? Hey, Rebel. Yep, it is a hydrangea. It's called a cascading hydrangea. And I got rooked into that by watching... Uh-oh, excuse me. Rebel! Come here. Anyway, I saw how beautiful it was in other people's gardens on the YouTube. And I wanted it to be so pretty in my yard. I bought it and I put it in a container, in a terracotta pot, and it did, you know, pretty good for a couple of years. And then I said, well, I'm gonna put it in the landscape. And it has been 3/4 dead most of the season. And now look, it's trying to have some green growth. I guess the cooler temperatures is what it really liked. So this one gets way too much sun. The poor little thing struggled. The leaves burned up, so I'm going to move it. Okay, this is a poor, pitiful little something. This is called Chardonnay Pearls Deutzia. I moved it from another spot to this spot. It hasn't done well in either place. So one more move. I'll give it one more move. And if it doesn't perk up after that, it may have to join Cryptomeria down in the ditch. The leaves on this is a little Henry Itea. This is probably the fullest that it has ever been. I don't know what is wrong with me and my planting schemes. But anyway, look, the leaves are beautiful now. But it's about all it's ever done. I may leave that there. I don't know. Maybe it just... I don't know. It's trying so hard right now. I feel sorry for it. Little Henry better perk up too, or he might find himself down the ditch. You can tell I've had a long, hard, humid, hot, challenging summer as far as things go in my garden. And looking forward to 2025, I want to do better. Am I going to let the failures this year get me down and not have me garden anymore? No. No way. I'm just going to do better. And I'm not going to let myself be influenced by the pretty things I see online if I know that they're not going to work in my yard. I've got to be realistic about it. I can still sow positive, but I know that there are things out there that will do well here in Mississippi. So that's what I'm going to have to go for. And you all probably have places in your garden, in your flower beds, that don't look the best, that you're maybe outdone with, that you're over for the season. Just learn from them and look forward to a 2025. Things are going to be better. Look at the things that did do well this year, which is what I'm about to do. I had a wonderful tomato season, and I still have some cherry tomatoes, and I'm about to go eat them. I know one thing I'm going to do for sure next year. I'm going to plant more cherry tomatoes. And you should too. Look, I've got on my spooky shirt.